Hi, I'm Dan Wood.
I'm Ravi Abbott.
And we're from the RetroUnlim podcast, and you're watching RetroUnlim.
If you only knew the power of the dark side.
2, 1, 0.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Play Expo in Blackpool. You all having a good day? Yes! Enthusiastic crowd, I like it. Now, my name's Dan Wood.
I'm Ravi Abbott.
And we're from the RetroUnlim podcast. Now, if you haven't heard our show before, it comes out every Friday. Ravi and I talk about the headlines that have been making the news in the world of retro, and then we welcome on a veteran of the video games and computer industry to tell their story, share lots of memories, and that is exactly what we're doing here at Play. Today. Now, we've already had Gary Bracey, we did a panel with him a little bit earlier on. Gary's actually be coming back onto the stage in just a bit, along with Cale, to kind of share their memories of Commodore and the Amiga. I mean, by show of hands, who had a Commodore 64? Anyone have a Commodore Amiga? They're all in. Amiga 500? 1200? 4000? Commodore plus 4? I'm not alone. Now, I'm sure the gentleman next to me needs no introduction. David Pleasance, who spent over 12 years working at Commodore. At the end, he was actually the managing director of Commodore UK, launched products like the Batman Pack, the CD32. Can you please give a warm welcome to David Pleasance?
He's also writing a fantastic Inside Commodore book at the moment.
You can take a seat, David. We're informal.
I was afraid this was already plugged into the mains.
Now, this is not your first time at Blackpool, is it?
Oh, you've caught me out. Yeah, I have to be perfectly honest with you. I've only been here once before, and I'm really, really ashamed to admit it, but I have to tell the truth. I came here in 1966, and I came on my Vespa scooter as a mod. I swear to you, it's unbelievable, but it's true. I should be ashamed of it, but they were pretty damn good days, actually. And let's be honest about it, our youth, our childhood, which is really what we're talking about today, it's very important to us, and it's part of the rich tapestry that we become later in life. But yeah, 1966, and those were the days.
We did ask for some pictures of David in his mod era, but you know, he lost them.
You bet. Absolutely bet.
So let's start with your experiences in the computer industry. It's a question we always like to ask. What was your first ever experience with a computer then?
Well, it's a bit embarrassing really, because I'm one of these people who openly admit that I'm absolutely a technical dumbass. I really, really am. But what happened to me was that I'd had quite a successful career in sales and marketing in various industries, in the credit card industry, and I worked for 3M company for a while, and then I worked for Pioneer Electronics. And I was living in Australia in those days, although I am British. And I decided that I wanted to try to get an international role, and Australia was not the place to do that. So I decided to return back to the UK. And in fact, my first son was I think he was about 12 or 14 months old, and we decided to return. So we went on holiday on our way back from Australia, went to Thailand for a couple of weeks, and then I put my wife and son on the plane, and I spent 7 weeks travelling the world looking for what was going to be the next best thing. This is 1983, beginning of 83. And I travelled, as I said, right across the world. And by the time I got back to the UK, it was pretty obvious to me that the computer industry was really just about to kind of go crazy. So got back to the UK, and of course in those days we had no internet. So I started looking for a job, and in those days there was the newspapers, particularly Thursdays and Sundays in the UK was where all the jobs were advertised. So I looked through and I found this job through an agency in London. And I thought, I can do that. So I rang them up. And it took me 40 minutes, in fact, to even get an interview. But eventually I made an appointment, went in to see them. And as I walked into their building, I held the door open for a lady who was just leaving. Anyway, I had my interview, and the guy said, well, Mr. Pleasance, there's no doubt in my mind that you could do this job that you've come for without any problems, but I'm not going to put you forward for it. Oh, thanks a lot, that's really great. And he said, no, he said, the thing is, he said, that you've got such an incredible background in the retail business. You've been selling into retail for a lot of years, lots of experience. And he said, it would be remiss of me as a career guidance person to not put you into something that would utilize that experience. And so I got up to leave. He said, well, no, sit your backside down. He said, did you notice as you arrived, there was a lady just leaving? Yes. He said, well, she has just given me a brief for a job that I think would be absolutely perfect for you. He said she works for a computer company. They have some business products that they want to sell into the retail market. And they do not know, should they recruit a computer specialist who knows nothing about retail, or a retail specialist that knows nothing about computers. And he said, I told her, undoubtedly you need to get a retail specialist, because anybody can learn about the products. So he said, this is so new. He said, I haven't even had a chance to write up the brief for it. He said, I can't advertise it because I haven't written up the brief. So anyway, that was the job with Commodore. And that lady was from Commodore. So I had a meeting with her a few days later, and then I met with the then managing director. And at that time, Commodore was in Slough. And I got the job. And so there was I, knowing nothing at all about computers, nothing whatsoever. And I must say, the very first day that I arrived in Commodore, there was a new boss in charge of the business systems division, and he hadn't got anything for me to do. It's the truth. So I went and found the marketing director, a guy called John Baxter, and knocked on his door, and I said, John, I've just joined today. I don't know what to do. What can I do? Ah, he said, good timing. He said, there's a new retail store just opened up on the North Circular Road. Big store, he said, and they're dedicated to selling computers. Just go and drop in on them, unannounced. Okay, so I drove over there, parked up, walked through the door. Who are you? Oh, my name's David Pleasance, I'm from Commodore. Commodore, welcome, come in. And they gave me a glass of champagne. And I thought, I'm going to like this job. This is Anyway, it turns out that it was their official opening day. They had sent Commodore invitations and nobody had answered. And I just, by 1,000,000 to 1 chance, walked through the door, and it was their opening day. So needless to say, I got back to the office, I wrote a report all about it and so on. But that was my first introduction to computing. Pretty good.
Did Commodore want to be taken as a serious business company rather than a kind of home computer company? Business machines, I mean.
Yeah, if I have to be honest with you, I don't think Commodore, as a management company, ever wanted to be taken seriously about anything. I'm answering it from the hip because I'm telling you the truth. I mean, they were the masters of creating their own misdemeanors in so many different ways. But I guess in seriousness, there was a time when the name CBM on a computer was as valuable as IBM. There definitely was. But I think what happened was that they launched the VIC-20, which in spite of itself had quite good success, and then of course the 64, which went absolutely nuts, particularly in Europe, much more so than the US. But again, the US, that they screwed up their own market, and I can tell you about that. All of those stories are going to be in my book. But anyway, so they got overtaken by the success of the consumer products. And I think eventually, but they still had that kind of nagging wish to be taken seriously, which is why the Amiga 1000 was launched before a lower end product, and they struggled with it because it was too expensive for what was perceived to be very little differential between what a business machine could do, like before the actual PCs as we know them were invented. Commodore had its own range, PETs, which is, I was actually recruited to sell PETs. But yeah, so in answer to your question, they were serious about the business market, but got overtaken by the success of consumer products.
Well, you mentioned that you're a non-techie. I imagine you had to learn various things as you went on with Commodore. But I mean, when you saw, we know how many people in here just adored, the VIC-20 and the Commodore 64. As a non-techie, what did you make of those products?
You're asking me all the embarrassing questions. I make no secret of the fact that, I am, and I still am really, very, very much a technical dumbass. I'm somebody, I sell on what something can do for you. This is what it will do for you. If you want to know how it does it, I'll bring somebody in who can tell you how it does it. But I'll tell you what it does. And that's worked for me. It's worked for me very, very well indeed. And let's be honest about it. When I'm selling, 10,000 64s to the buyer at Dixon's, he doesn't know how to switch on a computer either. He wants to know what the machine will do, so that what it will do for the customer, and that therefore that justifies why the customer will come in and spend their money. And that's the reality of it. So, and I swear to you, I didn't even switch on a computer for a long, long time. Didn't even switch one on. Terrible to admit it, but it's true.
Commodore got a royal appointment. How did that end up happening?
I think we must have had a few queens working for us. No, no. We did have the royal warrant, and it was pets that were sent to the royal household bought a couple of Commodore pets, and in fact I saved the royal warrant, the actual article itself, from the skip. It had been awarded to that John Baxter I just mentioned. He was the marketing guy for Commodore when they were in Slough. When Commodore moved from Slough, which was not long after I joined them, they moved to Corby. And John and a few other people did not want to make the move. They wanted to stay near London, so they didn't go. But so that royal warrant was in fact for Commodore pets. And not that long ago, about a year ago, I think, I donated it to the museum in Cambridge. So it's on display there, which is where I think it should be, in the UK.
When you first joined Commodore, obviously Jack Tramiel was in charge. Did he have much to do with the Tramiels, and what did you make of them?
No, because I joined in June of 1983 when Jack was still with Commodore. I had the very good fortune to be, somebody paid for me, one of my customers actually paid for me to go to CES in Las Vegas in January of '84, which I cleared, by the way. That wasn't a backhander, that was cleared. And I have to say that because it's quite important. And Commodore had a stand at CES, and Jack Tramiel was on the stand. I wasn't there in an official capacity from Commodore UK. In those days, we weren't considered, I think, sufficiently big enough to be involved with the CES. I don't know. I saw Jack. I said hello to him. He was a very gruff, quite arrogant dictator type of guy, and he was shouting at everybody. And then not long after that, of course, he left the company. So that's my only experience with Jack, to be honest with you.
The Plus 4 was Jack's kind of last system. What did you think of it, and how did you deal with the Plus 4?
Well, like many products that just suddenly turned up on our doorsteps, it wasn't something that had been asked for. And you just can't believe when suddenly somebody launches something that, here it is, go and sell it. Has anybody actually asked if the market wants this? And they didn't. And the Plus 4 was definitely one of those products, and it was like it was a hybrid really. It was, it wasn't a business product, and it wasn't a games product. It was supposed to be a bit of both. And as I understand it, the 4 pieces of software that were embedded into the machine were pretty useless anyway, from a business point of view. And I in the UK, I ended up, and I say I quite decidedly, this actually was the result of something I did. I cleared not only all of the UK's inventory, but I cleared the whole world's inventory of Plus 4s. And that is another story in itself, which we haven't got time to discuss now. It's a great story, and it will be in my book, I promise you. But yeah, I cleared all the inventory. And it sold for £99 with about 10 pieces of game software in it. And I know this man on my left bought one.
So thank you, David.
It's true.
Yeah, there's two of us in the room. Come on. So obviously everyone remembers the first time they saw the Amiga. That must have been a pretty impactful time for you.
Yeah, the first time that we saw the Amiga, it was the 1000, of course, and it landed in our offices. I think it was only a week or two before we had a big Commodore show at the Novotel. You know, we used to have our shows at the Novotel once or even sometimes twice a year. And what I do distinctly remember is that we had a display where we had 32 windows open with programs running in each window, very slowly of course, but the thing was it was a fabulous display because 32 programs all running simultaneously, albeit some of them very, very slowly. It was pretty impactful, and I mean nobody could do anything like that before, and that's the reason why we did it, of course. But yes, I mean, let's be honest about it, it took everybody's breath away. Amazing product and conceptually incredible.
It must have been kind of frustrating to see the Amiga 1000 when it was so advanced and PCs were still dominating the market. So it must have kind of been a bit of like, oh, we need to do something different.
Yeah, I mean, we obviously wanted a cost-reduced product because that was the only reason why the Amiga wasn't doing so well, really, I guess, the Amiga 1000, because its price point. The differentiation from its performance vis-a-vis a PC could not justify £1,000 more expensive price point. Let's be realistic about it, it just couldn't. And in those days, of course, the product was being manufactured for us. Commodore didn't make it itself. And we hadn't planned for any kind of cost reduction version of it. And of course, we hadn't harnessed the video industry, which of course subsequently we did manage to harness with some of the subsequent products that companies brought out, and that opened up a whole new world of opportunities for us. But the reality was it was just a Rolls Royce at a Rolls Royce price when everybody was buying Fords or whatever.
Well, the Amiga really hit its stride when the Amiga 500 came along, and you took an ingenious approach at marketing that product. How did you come up with the idea of the packs?
Well, the truth of the matter is that I'd been doing 64 packs very successfully. I mean, let's be honest about it, in the UK we kept a 64 selling for at least 2 years beyond its real use-by date, let's be realistic. And that was because we were putting these incredible packs together, and most of them which worked very well, not all of them. There was one pack in particular where we put a Casio keyboard in and died at death. And then I sold the keyboards, subsequently sold the keyboards to a guy called Howard Stroman, who had a company called PST. And PST was, psst, have I got a deal for you? That's where the PST came up, if you didn't know that. And he said he reckons I'm the only person who's ever got the better of him and sold him something that was a lemon. And I'm very proud of that, I have to be honest with you. But no, so we had the 64 packs, and what happened was that we had a new managing director came into the UK, a guy called Steve Franklin. And when Steve walked into the offices, he was there for 2 weeks, and as God is my witness, he didn't speak one word to me for 2 weeks. What he did do was he fired all of the business systems people except one, and that person was a guy called Peter Talbot, who was our education guy, and he was very good at his job. But Steve brought in all his own people in the business systems business. And anyway, after 2 weeks, he walked in, he said, "Pleasance, my office." No. Okay. Sat down. He said, "There's no easy way to say this, Pleasance," he said, "but I'll be honest with you," he said, "if I knew anybody who understood your side of the business, you wouldn't be here today." Thanks a lot. Thanks for your word of confidence. He said, "No," he said, "I've got nothing against you." He said, I think his exact words are, "I don't know you from a bar of soap." But he said, "So it seems like I'm stuck with you." He said, "There's something brought in here to change the whole ethos of this company. So as I'm stuck with you, here are my rules." And he spent 20 minutes raving on about, integrity and honesty and loyalty and all these things, all of which actually is kind of my ethos anyway. So I let him finish. So I said, I'll tell you what, Steve. I said, I've got no problem with any of that. I said, I'll make a deal with you. He said, you're in no position to make a deal with me. I said, no, hear me out. I said, I've got an idea. If you let me do what I want to do, I'll bring you more business than you've ever seen in your life before. Or I'll create such a mess that you'll have every reason to get rid of me. A pretty compelling argument, really. So anyway, he said, what do you want to do? And I said to him, I want to put a pack together around the Amiga and market it in a way that nobody has ever done before. We are going to market this product for what is inside, what the software is inside, not the machine itself. The package will hardly even mention that there's an Amiga inside. We're going to market it in a way that, you know, is in line with what is commercially current and trendy. And he said, what do you mean? I said, well, I can't exactly tell you, but I need to find out, but let me do it. He said, okay. So I did some research and I discovered that there was a very big product, the deal had just been signed in Hollywood to do Batman the movie, which was a new, you know, it was like everyone was waiting for it. Ocean had just signed the deal to do Batman the movie as a game. And they paid $1 million just for the license. So anyway, I went to Ocean and I said, all right, boys, I'm going to put a proposition to you now that you're either going to have the balls to go with, or you're going to send for the men in the white coats to take me away. Exact words. What do you want to do? I said, okay. I said, I want to put a pack and I want to feature Batman so that it will be the Batman pack. The fact that the Amiga is in there is almost irrelevant. I said, I'm going to market the hell out of it. I said, and in return, I want you to give me the software for 2 months exclusively in the pack. The dealers are not allowed to get it for 2 months. I said, I want to pay you tuppence for it, and I only want to commit to 10,000 pieces. And they said, send for the men with the white coats. And they said, David, we're intrigued, but we have 2 fears. First of all, we think our dealers are going to be very pissed off because we give it to you for 2 months. And I said, yeah, they might be. I said, my guess is they'll be upset for maybe 48 hours because if this thing works, they will be selling £400 products vis-a-vis a £40 product. And I know if I was a retailer, what I'd prefer to sell. Okay? I said, the other thing is, they said, we've just spent $1 million. We think it's going to cost us $1 million to make the game. So therefore, we've estimated there is a minimum amount that we must sell, at least to break even. And we're worried that this activity will affect those numbers. And I said, well, look, I've got a much, much bigger marketing budget than you have, but I'm adding it to yours. And everything that we do will be marketed jointly so that it looks the same. In every store, everywhere you go, the same marketing will be. So our weight will be behind it. So anyway, they had the balls to go with it, obviously. And I will never forget that, because that took a lot of courage. The net result is that, yes, the dealers were upset, literally for about 48 hours, and then the Batman pack started to sell pretty well. They ended up selling 5 times the best volume they'd estimated, so they were well happy with that. And I didn't take 10,000 pieces, I took from them 186,000 pieces, because that's how many Batman packs we sold in 12 weeks of a Christmas. So, it just proves that the right marketing and the right approach can make a huge difference.
Why didn't Commodore kind of replicate this in America? And do you think it would have sold in the US, Batman pack?
No, this was not, this marketing activity would not have worked in the States for a number of reasons, mostly because they didn't have the retailer distribution channels. They'd screwed that up already, and I know all the reasons for that too. But it should have been replicated throughout Europe. And I tried and tried and tried to get them, because my philosophy has always been that people who bought our Batman pack were the same profile in Germany, in Holland, in Italy, in Spain, the same people. So obviously we should have produced the same pack in their own language, of course, but they should have been the same pack because they all wanted the same deal. And Commodore would not make them do it. And to this day, I don't understand that because nobody was selling the volumes that we were. Nobody. So why on earth wouldn't you do it? They weren't business-minded.
Well, obviously the Amiga 500 was a massive seller with the packs, and then it kind of, to the customers, it kind of came out of nowhere that the Amiga 500 got discontinued, and then the Amiga 600 suddenly came along. What happened there?
Oh dear. Okay. Again, I am responsible for the 600. I am. No, listen, because when I tell you my story, you'll understand my frustration. I went to Mehdi Ali, and I said, Mehdi, we've kept the Commodore 64 going now for 2 years longer than it should have been, because we've done a bloody good job of marketing it, promoting it, packaging it. But now it's dying. This will be the last Christmas, I think, that we're going to sell volume. So what we need a cut-down, low-cost version of the Amiga 500. At the moment, the 64 price point is £200. We might get away at a price point of, say, £249. If we can do anywhere in between that, we will get the same audience that we were getting the 64. That same socio-economic group of people will buy a low-cost version of the Amiga 500, but it must be expandable up to and beyond the 500. So the idea is to get them into the system and then let them buy and upgrade as they can afford to. So that was the idea of a product called the Amiga 300. Okay? So we went to a meeting which happened to be in Germany, and it was all agreed. We're going to get the Amiga 300, low-cost version. Now, unbeknown to us, the Germans had said to Mehdi, we can't sell anything that doesn't have our drive in it. Don't ask me why, but anyway. But anyway, as far as we were concerned, we were having an Amiga 300. The name was chosen specifically because it's not a 500. It is lower than a 500, and therefore one's expectations of it would be lower than a 500. So imagine our surprise when what we got delivered to us was Amiga 600s, which cost more to make than the 500 did in the first place. And immediately the 600 was announced, nobody wanted to buy a 500. It killed its own, it killed its own young. And so I am responsible, but for the reasons that I've just explained to you, we ended up with a product. And the worst thing, the most annoying, hurtful thing, was that in the first several thousand Amiga 600s that we got in, Amiga 300 was printed on the motherboard.
And they were still selling, weren't they, the 500s when they introduced it?
Oh yeah, until we introduced the 600. And the idea was that the 600 should supplement, the 300 should supplement the 500 sales to a lower socio-economic audience. I mean, it makes perfectly good business and commercial sense. But when you tell somebody there's a 600 coming out, you would think it's better than a 500. So somebody screwed up big time. To this day I don't know who, but...
What did you think of the 1200? Did you think that was a good upgrade?
Yeah, I thought the 1200 was a fantastic piece of kit, and it had learned lessons from the 500. I mean, and then of course we had the 500 Plus, with another debacle. I mean, how many debacles can any company have? Yeah, I thought the 1200 was a phenomenal product, and I think most people who bought it did. I don't think there were many disappointed people as far as the 1200 was concerned. I could be wrong, but I think most people really appreciated what they got for their money.
Well, one pack I always remember from the A1200 was the Comic Relief pack. When you did an association with Red Nose Day, it had a Sleepwalker game in there as well. I mean, that again was a pretty groundbreaking deal. Do you remember how that came around?
Yeah, as I said, I think that the key to the success of any of these things is that if you can align yourself with products, companies, images that are well known and are in demand in their own right, then the sum of the parts is always going to be better. So for us the deal that we did provided money from the sales going to the comic relief cause, and we knew the massive amount of television coverage that comic relief got, and everybody that was involved in it. So really, it's a no-brainer, and I think we are the ones who got the most out of it, because we aligned ourselves with something which everybody was happy to support, and it was a success.
Well, later on you went to launch the Amiga CD32. How did you approach this?
Well, first of all, let me tell you that the Amiga, the CD32 was the only product in my 12 years that had been designed and was on course to be launched properly. The only product ever. And it was scheduled for release in April, May of the year after it was released. And if I can tell you 100% guarantee that everybody will support this, we had kept it secret. We had development machines in all the major software companies for 6 months for them to write specifically for the CD32. And everybody had kept it secret. It was amazing, but they did. And nobody leaked it at all. And of course, suddenly what happened is at Commodore, I'm dragged back to the UK and forced to become MD of the UK because we were in trouble financially worldwide. And suddenly I'm told, not only are we going to sell the 1200 this Christmas, which we had orders coming out of our ears for, we're going to release the CD32 as well. And I said, are you mad? And no, we got to do it. We need the sales, we need the sales. And I said, the biggest problem you've got is that there is no software. The only software we have at the moment will be ported from the 1200 and therefore will not use all the features that the CD32 has. And is that what you want? They couldn't give a toss. Got to sell it, got to launch it. So, I don't know if you remember, we took the museum in London, Central Museum, Science Museum, yes, sorry, which was a good place to launch it. And we had Chris Evans. I mean, again, it shows you how far advanced we were. We knew Chris Evans was on the ascendancy. I mean, I know that since with the Top Gear thing he's screwed up, but let's be honest about it, he was on the ascendancy. And we had him as our co-host. And the best thing in the world, and I do love this, was that about 2 weeks before our launch, there was an article where Tom Kalinske, who was the worldwide president of Sega, was interviewed, and somebody in the interview said to him, what about CD, 32-bit technology, CD? And he said, it can't be done. If anybody can do it, it would be Sega, and it can't be done. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. Because it was literally about 2 weeks before we were due to launch. So, needless to say, when we did the launch, we had a big voiceover of him saying that, you know, because we were able to say it because it was written, it was there in print. So we just verbatim had somebody voiceover. Should have been Dan with his speaking voice, but anyway.
It was a bit squeaky about that.
And of course it said, you know, you just read it out, and then we said, ladies and gentlemen, here it is. And we had, I mean, the place was absolutely full of developers, mostly software developers, retail, you know, Dixons and Comet and Currys, all those people were there. And of course, it said not only are we announcing it, it's going to be in your shops in 3 weeks' time, which was fantastic from that point of view. Sad thing was that we didn't have the software for it. But then, of course, to cap it all, a guy rang me up, and he said, David, you won't remember me, he said, but I certainly remember you. He said, you bought some poster sites from us in the past, and he said, I really like, you know, the way that you do business. He said, and boy, have I got a deal for you. He said, we have got 3 of the biggest 96-sheet poster sites that there are. We've got 3 of them in central London that somebody has already paid 50% on and just pulled out. So you can have them for the 50% they owe. Oh, and by the way, one of them is right outside Sega's head office. Oh my God, thank you, Lord. And so our agency had come up with this thing which said, to be this good will take Sega ages. And we put it up there right outside their head office. And I mean, I relished that. The interesting thing was that it was only a few days after they went up that we had the industry dinner, Indian, which was in Grosvenor Hotel, I think it was, in London. And all of the companies were there. I think we had about 3 tables there. Sega and Nintendo, they were all there. And Nick Alexander, who was the MD of Sega UK, he walks up to me and he said, "A bit close to home, Mr. Pleasance, a bit close to home." And I just said, "Where needs must, Nick, where needs must." And not another word was said.
Now, obviously, the guys that were running Commodore internationally, Mehdi Ali and Irving Gould, they're kind of mysterious characters now. You don't really, looking on the internet, there's not really much about them. Obviously, you worked with them firsthand. What were they like?
Oh dear. Well, I can talk about Irving because he's passed away, God bless him. But let's talk about Irving. Irving was a very interesting man. I got to know him quite well, actually. I got quite close to him. I kind of liked him, and the fact that we both loved big game fishing, and that was his bag. So we often talked. And every time I ever went to New York office to meet with Mehdi, which was quite regularly, I'd always go and see Irving because he shared the same offices. The only thing I can say is that I felt really sorry for him because he was his own worst enemy. I kept trying to tell him about lots of the things that were going on that were clearly wrong, that Mehdi was screwing up, and he did not want to listen. He kept saying to me, I've recruited him, I put him in charge, he'll do it. Leave him alone, leave him alone, leave him alone. And in the end, they say you can lead a horse to water. So in some ways I felt sorry for him, but he was his own worst enemy in that regard. As far as Mehdi's concerned, he was a really, really mixed bag. He was a person who knew absolutely nothing at all about our industry and did no research. When you take on a role like that, I don't know if you know the background. He was with a company called Dillon Reed, who were financial and business advisors. And Irving Gould got Dillon Reed in to look and help them restructure their finances because they were in trouble quite a long time ago. And Mehdi was responsible for getting, for example, he got a $50 million loan in from the Prudential of America and other things. But in the end, Irving appointed him to run as president for the whole country. And I always say, if you join a business and you don't do any research, you don't want to understand about it, you're never going to be very successful. And he was a person who I think his worst failings were his ability to recruit. Because the number of people that he was responsible directly for recruiting were disastrous, absolutely disastrous, in a number of ways. And yet, on the other hand, I mean, I was invited by Mehdi, and I actually went out for dinner with him and his family and stayed at his house overnight once. I don't know of anybody else who had that privilege, and I feel quite privileged about that. But on the other hand, he'd shout at you and call you all sorts of names, mostly without cause, but that's another story. But I just find it incredible that somebody who is in charge of a multi-billion-dollar organization doesn't really want to get to understand how it works. He was not interested in what the market wanted. And how can you be a marketing company selling products if you don't even ask the consumer market what they want? How can you? It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. That's as much I'm going to say for now.
Is it in your book?
Yes. Yes.
When did you notice all over at Commodore?
Probably the first day I was ever employed. They had no chance. I think I'd known for a very long time that they were in trouble. But for some naive reason, I kept believing in my heart of hearts that one day they'd get it right. One day they'd stop all the shenanigans, that they'd stop all of the stop this development program mid-flow and start something else that somebody had this, wet dream about the night before. Because that's kind of how it was. And if you talk to people like Dave Haney, who I'm very close with, he'll tell you the number of times he was working on something that was really good and they get told stop, throw it away, start on this, which is something that nobody wanted. It happened time and time and time again. But I just kept believing in my heart of hearts that a company with such a huge following would kill itself. I couldn't believe, I thought they would come out of it, that they would find their religion. And to be honest with you, the CD32 was, I thought, as I said earlier on, I thought it's the first product that they're bringing to market that's been asked for, that is needed, that there is an opportunity to go ahead with. And had we launched it when we should have launched it, and had all the software that was, 60 or 70% written for it, would have been a different thing entirely. Mind you, having said that, I don't think we would have survived that long. So, in a way, it's a bit of a, they're dictating their own demise because they brought it forward. But I don't know that we would have survived financially if we hadn't done what we did. Certainly we would have had more successful sales of the 1200, which were making money. 1200 was sales were making money.
Was it too big a wheel for you to start with?
Yeah, but because not even one person ever really accepted responsibility. It was always somebody else's fault. In Mehdi Ali's case, he'd blame the guy that he just recruited as head of engineering. Let me give you an example. I worked in America in Commodore Inc. for almost a year, in 1992. And the first day I walked in, I went to see all of the engineers. And there were seven Amiga engineers. There were 40 PC engineers. Silence. It's incredible. It's incredulous. Who needed PC engineers? I mean, if we were going to sell PCs, why on earth would we want to make them anyway? Because there's hundreds of companies who can make them for a lot less money than us. Make them to our spec, put our own bezel on the front, our own badge on the front, CBM or whatever. Why on earth would you need? And I found out why. Because he had just recruited a new head of engineering. And that guy came from IBM, and guess what? He gave jobs to 40 of his mates. That's a good example. So how could I stop that? How could anybody stop that? They had no ears. They didn't want to listen. Truth.
Well, when Commodore did eventually go under, you and Colin Bradford actually made an attempt to save the Amiga. Were you optimistic about that at first?
Totally. We had pulled together a business plan that was viable. Well, put it this way, we raised investment in 1994, we raised investment of $50 million. And that wasn't based on whimsy, that was based on a business plan that made incredibly good business sense. And I mean, I can tell you that, Colin, in my eyes, Colin Bradford is an absolute genius at what he does. He actually works with me now in Friends, so that says an awful lot, I think. And we spent months on this business plan, and it was an incredible business plan. And we would have taken every asset that Commodore had, the name CBM, the name Commodore, the name Amiga, and we would have got every single penny of revenue we could out of them, each in their own different ways, and each without costing a fortune, which would allow us the opportunity to develop the Amiga in the way that we wanted it to. And optimistic is not the word. We thought we were home and dry. We really did.
Well, why is the time now right to write a book about your kind of inside story of Commodore?
Because I need the money. I do, but the truth of the matter is that after we got cheated out of the management buyout, I was very badly battered and bruised, to be honest with you, and I deliberately went under the radar. I kind of disappeared. I had loads of people coming to me, people with money, saying, "We want to do this with Commodore, we want to do that, we want you to head it up." they were all dreams that could never be reality. They were pie-in-the-sky ideas. And I can't ever support something I don't believe in. So anyway, I was out of the industry for a very, very long time. I missed it, but on the other hand, I wasn't getting beaten up every day. And then Amiga 30 comes around, and completely out of the blue, people got in touch with me that were running that organisation and said, would I be a guest speaker? And I thought, wow, that's fabulous. So they paid my airfare, they paid my hotel, and I went over to Amsterdam, did the same thing in Germany as well a few weeks later. And it was there that I realised what a huge community we still have, and a loyal community. And let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, there is nothing like the Amiga, and Commodore in terms of a loyal community with something that's been dead more than 30 years. It is incredible, and applaud yourselves because you deserve, everybody deserves it. Really, I mean, I really do. And it was then when people started asking me all these sort of questions, the questions that you're asking me now, suddenly I realised, actually, I've got quite a lot to tell. And nobody, up till now, has actually told the story from the inside that I know of. I know that Brian Bagnall's got a new book coming out, and he just sent me a preview of it so I could do some editing on my parts of his book. And it's phenomenal. It's going to be absolutely phenomenal. In fact, it's so vast, he's had to put it into 2 books. And that, I encourage you to look into that, Brian Bagnall's book. But there's nobody actually done what I'm in the middle of doing, and that's telling all the stories, like I'm telling you now, from the inside. And what I'm trying to do is to put a good spin on it, because a lot of this comes from good feelings, not just bad. They're good feelings. I mean, the successes that we had were phenomenal, and the tragedies were awful. But I want to tell the story like it is, from the inside, and there's all sorts of stories, lots of little stories that maybe on their own they maybe don't mean very much, but I think collectively they will tell the whole picture. And I think anybody who's bought the book or who wants to buy the book, I don't think you'll be disappointed, because you can see me, I'm like a piece of Blackpool rock throughout. I'm kind of Commodore through and through. And I'm telling the stories exactly like they are, the true stories. And I think they've got heart, and they've got sensibility, and they've got ethos and pathos and passion.
Well, David, you're not taking it easy these days. I mean, obviously you mentioned that Amiga 30 event, and that was where you met the guys from the current company that you're working with, that I'm working with you now as well, FriendUp. So tell us a bit about FriendUp and how that relates to the Amiga.
Yeah, again, I mean, I was retired, and quite enjoying retirement, to be honest with you. And so I go to the Amiga 30 event in Amsterdam, get off stage, and these 2 Norwegian guys approach me, and a guy called Hogner Titlestad and Arne Peder Blix. That's amazing I can even say their names, but anyway, so they approached me, and it turns out that Hogner, everything he learnt on the Amiga, and he had this vision a few years back of taking the best elements of the Amiga operating system and turning that into something much, much, much bigger. So he had this idea, which basically is a cloud and web-based meta operating system, which allows you to take the software wherever you go. It's fully portable, works on any device, and it's a whole new paradigm. If you want to know more technically about it, I was going to say talk to this guy, he's disappeared. Talk to Dan and talk to Ravi, because particularly Ravi, in the last few weeks, Ravi has really got into it. He started working with it big time, because we only launched version 1.0.0 less than 2 weeks ago. But talk to Ravi about it. It's sensational. Ladies and gentlemen, this product, believe me, is going to change history. It is a phenomenal product. And as they say in the movies, you ain't seen nothing yet.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to give you a chance to ask some questions in a moment, but please give a round of applause for David Pleasance.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Now, we thought it might be quite interesting because this has never been done before. You know, we talked about the Batman pack and software that came out of the Amiga and games. We thought we'd invite Gary Bracey from Ocean and Mark Cale from System 3 to come and join David up here on the stage and kind of reminisce about the Amiga and talk about those legendary games.
So we were going to ask a question first, and this was going to be, what was your first experience seeing an Amiga? We've heard David's already, but we'll go with Gary.
I think that came. It was actually the most amazing I'd witnessed, because I was into games as well. Although we were developing them, I was really into games. And when the Amiga came across my desk, and I think I probably got one a little early, I knew someone in the business. It was phenomenal. It was a game changer. Excuse the pun. I saw the ST as well. It was really nice, but the Amiga went the extra distance, and it really was. It was impressive. We were obviously given privilege to have one early because we needed to write games for it. So we had a good play, but from that moment on, that became my game platform of choice whenever I wanted to play a game.
What about you, Mark?
I think it's when I came in your office and you were showing me that bouncing ball, and I was thinking, Christ, how are we going to do the graphics on this thing? And taking it back to our dev team and say, right, well, we've got to move over to 16-bit and trying to work out how you're actually going to get the graphics to go on this new machine. That was absolutely wonderful. It was a game changer and was vastly superior to the Atari ST that came out around that time. Before that, I was a big Atari fan. I had an Atari 800, which David knows about, and it was always the better machine, which is why I think it worked in America. A lot of people might not agree with me here, but they had the first multi-chips and things like that. The Amiga took that philosophy and pushed the envelope, and it was an absolutely jaw-dropping experience to see what the machine can actually do.
And Gary, for you, how did the Batman pack change your fortunes at Ocean then? Was that a big game changer for you?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it was phenomenal, and what you had was a combination of debatably the best computer, and at the time, I believe, the best game. I mean, we put an awful lot of effort into that game, so you had this compelling proposition. If the game had been no good, then it would have damaged, obviously, the reputation of the Amiga. But you had this perfect storm of great computer, great game, and we did incredibly well from it. And everyone was talking about the Batman pack, and it had never been done before, that type of promotion.
And Mark, for you, I mean, how did the Amiga and working with Commodore change things at System 3?
Well, we continued to support the C64. In fact, we went on to develop the GS cartridge, not the C cartridge. So, the C was for computer, it's the remake. So anyway, we had a chat about that earlier. I mean, it was, for us, it changed things around in terms of what you can actually do as a gaming experience. But more importantly, it gave an expansion of opportunities because we were lucky enough to also join in with packs as well. So what you could do is negotiate with David at PAC and obviously try to underwrite your development costs by using his packs. Well, very, very successful. So that was a great business model for us. That really worked very, very well. Yeah, really, it just sort of changed the way graphics and the future of games was looking in the direction we wanted to take as a company long term.
So we're going to open the floor now to any questions. Anyone would like to raise their hand and ask any of these three gentlemen a question? Ravi?
Yeah, question for Mark. It is Last Ninja that the System 3 produced, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you know the reason behind the cart, so the game never going onto a cart? It was published that it was going to go on a cart, and it just never happened.
Ninja Remix did go on a cart.
Yeah, Last Ninja 3, sorry. I mean.
Last Ninja 3, unfortunately, there were a number of problems with the company, and I think that Commodore was looking like it wasn't going to really be successful with the GS, and because there was a large investment up front with manufacturing the cartridges with Sonapress, we kind of backed off a bit at that stage. In fact, we were doing a joint venture with Ocean. Together, it was Ocean and ourselves that would be doing Last Ninja cartridges. But things just changed slightly. And,
that's why it fell apart, because he was doing a joint venture with Ocean. I think it has to be said, though, that what was started with these bundles and things was a business format that everybody had to follow, because it works. When you work in synergy with the people that you need, I mean, hardware needs software, software needs hardware, and when you work in synergy with each other, deliberately working together on any kind of project, it has to be the way forward, and not why argue with each other. It makes no sense at all. And I think we set the bar for that. I think Commodore definitely opened the doors to dialogue with everybody. And I think if that's any claim to fame, that's definitely what I think Commodore UK definitely helped to do.
Do we have a question over here?
David, what's the backstory with the bouncing ball? How did that happen? Because it was obviously, I was in retail at the time, and it just blew everyone's socks off, and it continues to do so. What is the backstory? How did that happen?
Actually, I can't recollect the exact thing, although I've got it written down to research. But I know it was a couple of people within Commodore talking to each other about, we're now going to be launching at the CES. Well, actually, they launched in New York with Debbie Harry, and they wanted something that was, going to attract people's attention. And I know it was within the company that they got somebody to do that. I am looking at it. It will be in my book because it's an important question. I'm sorry I can't give you the actual answer right now.
Any more questions?
No, Ravi's.
I'll send Ravi a really easy exercise. Yeah, right.
This is a question to David. What do you think of the deal with ESCOM after Commodore? Do you think it was going to save the Amiga?
I knew that it would be a disaster. And the reason I knew it was going to be a disaster is because if you take, for example, they had a large number of their own retail stores in Germany, and they didn't even put Amiga on display in their own stores. What does that tell you? No, it was always going to be a disaster. And the truth of the matter is that they should have taken the CBM name, because I honestly believe that CBM was as valuable as IBM. And if they put CBM on their PCs, they would have done very, very well with it. They never had any intention to do anything with the Amiga, and the only thing they did was they spent a lot of money on trinkets, on playing cards and dice and painting their cars with the name Amiga and stuff like that. They did nothing with it at all. Nothing.
We had a question from down here.
This is for David. The Commodore Amiga shaped most of my life, really, including present day. But one of the things I would like to ask, which maybe has been asked before, is there any future development for the re-release of the 500 that you know of?
Not that I know of, no. And to be honest with you, I think anybody who even considered it would be crazy. It's last year's technology.
I believe someone's actually doing a C64 console pack, like what the SNES is coming out this year. It's going to be followed by an Amiga version.
That's interesting, Mike. I mean, what do you feel about the kind of reinvigorated retro market?
I think there's a lot of plug-and-play devices in the market, and I know someone that's doing that, that's licensed the Commodore brand. I know that because they've also licensed some of our games. But I'm not entirely sure how successful that will be. I think obviously the SNES has a big following with a lot of games from Nintendo that's going to make it very successful. But I don't see the reason why an Amiga plug and play wouldn't work, or a C64 plug and play wouldn't work.
Any more questions from the floor?
Hi Mark, I just wanted to say thanks for your efforts preserving Putty Squad recently for the Amiga, because that was a game I was really looking forward to. I was just wondering if you had any stories regarding it that may not have been told already, or anything at all.
Not on camera, no.
He has a lot of stories that can't be told on camera, let me tell you that. Be quiet.
Do we have another question?
This is a question for David. Just a question of, when you're working with people who you can see are just, like you said, they're being rude and they're being arrogant to you, and you can see they're destroying the company. How do you keep working with these people when you can see that they're destroying all this? What sort of toll does it take on you? How do you just keep going as you can see them just ruining it?
That's a very good question, and I often ask myself the same question. But I think, as I said earlier on, I always naively believed that, that the best would eventually come out in the end. For me, on a personal level, it was very frustrating because I know, I tried lots of different things. Luckily, some of them were very successful, a few of them weren't. But I think that's like most ventures, whatever you do, whether you're an entrepreneur or whatever, you try some things and they work and others don't. My disappointment was only in the fact that we were proving by the numbers that what we were doing was working, and the fact that they would not replicate it across Europe absolutely astounded me. It still does today.
I think we've got time for one more.
Right. This question's directed at David. Any understanding as to why the Amiga 500 Plus actually came about? What was the decision behind it?
It was because there were, like any new product, it was discovered by these guys particularly that certain things were lacking in the product. They weren't lacking, but the product would have been better had it had certain interfaces, various things added to it. So it was decided that they would make an upmarket version, and I think 500 Plus is as good a name as it could have been.
Did they know the 600 was coming around the corner then?
No, because it was the 300 that was coming.
I'd like to ask one final question now that we've got all you guys together, probably for the first time that any of us have seen you guys together, certainly. Just to get one memory about each other. So, Mark, I'd love to hear just one memory or one story that kind of sticks in your mind about David. This is where they go.
Mark's getting very worried now. Limousine does it.
I suppose really it was one of those computer arenas actually when we all got together and got very drunk and partied all night, and then we had the conference in the morning and we just went up, brushed our hair and came down, and we were on a panel, I think, trying to tell everyone how to develop games and where the future was going to lie, with actually, I think it was actually Nick Alexander going on about CDs at the time, wasn't he? But that's my lasting memory of these two guys getting me very, very drunk.
I was going to say the same thing.
I wasn't going to say anything, because I don't remember it. I was still drunk.
I'm not sure if it was Marbella or Malta, it was one of those two.
We'll get the
it was Marbella. Yes, it was Marbella. Yeah. My room was under yours, remember?
Well, I can tell a story about Marbella. No, you've got nothing to worry about. I happen to have an apartment not far from Marbella, but originally this particular conference was going to be held in Cyprus. I don't know if you remember, you guys. And it was right into the very last minute. It was going to be in Cyprus. And anyway, what happened was that my wife said, "Can me and the boys come to Cyprus. No, you can't do that. What you need to do, we had our own place you go down in Spain, that's what we bought it for. So they went down to Spain and then they changed the venue to Spain. So I had to be down at the same time anyway. But we got horribly drunk that night they're talking about, and I was supposed to that following morning go and pick my wife and children up and take them to the airport. And I overslept, of course. So anyway, I raced over and they'd already gone, they'd got a taxi. So I went to the airport and got fuming. It was awful. But anyway, I said my goodbyes to them, raced back, and as I got back to the hotel, all of the guys again said, we're actually going to go and have a game of football. And they'd found somewhere that they could go and play. And I'd got a hire car. So I said, come on, and I gave 2 or 3 of them, I think Paul Patterson was one of them. And anyway, we gave them a lift, and I then foolishly decided I'd have a game. We were all so hungover. Anyway, I ended up, I tore my crucial ligament, and I got taken to a local vet who patched me up and sent me away. So I went back to Switzerland with a really terrible, and I had a knee injury for I don't know, a year almost for that to heal. But that's my lasting memory of these guys.
Just one quick point. Someone asked me earlier about the culture of Ocean and the industry. And one of the things was that it was quite unique because we were fiercely competitive. David, he was talking about Nick Alexander, who was the head of Sega at the time, and you know, us and Mark, I mean, we were all competitors, we were all competing for that consumer dollar and trying to be the best and everything else. But once a year at the Indian, which David mentioned earlier, we'd all get together and we were the best of friends. We had the best times, didn't we? Oh, yeah. And it was, we just got along so well. Business was business and social was social. And I think an element of that sums up the culture as it was in those days. It was quite special, and I don't know whether any other industry replicate that. But we were all mates, although we would have killed each other to have been the best game or the best computer. But we were all friends, and that was quite special.
Yeah, I'd like to just endorse that by telling you something which I'm very, very proud of. And that is that there has been a huge amount of discussion over the years about piracy. And, you know, what do we think of it? And in my support of the software industry, and this is absolutely on the record, I was the very first ever hardware company who joined FAST, the Federation Against Software Theft. We paid our annual subscription because we supported that. And I'm very, very proud of that. As something that Commodore can say, we did that. So, you know, people say, no, he didn't care about software piracy because he just wanted to sell hardware. Not true. Without these boys, we had no business. Without us, they had no business. So it's an example of how you work together.
David, thank you. Gary, Mark, please give our special guests a round of applause. This afternoon we are going to get some more stories from Mark about System 3. So we're going to give you all true, I'm sure. So we'll give you, you've got around 45 minutes if you want to go and get a drink or go play some arcades or spend some money. Thank you very much.
Cheers.